Hey everybody, welcome to one more round. I'm excited this morning. I have Bob Dalpe with me. We just met, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But you're a good friend of Dave Walters. I don't know if you like to admit, no, I'm just kidding. Dave's amazing. We love Dave. So the Veterans Medical Leadership Council was brought to my attention. I wasn't super aware of it, but doing great work. But as we were talking for, I don't know, half hour or so, you were telling me some fun stories about some politicians and your background in the military. You're part of the Hall of Fame. So I thought we'd come on and talk a little bit, but welcome. So
Thanks, appreciate it.
yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the military, and then what's the Veterans Hall of Fame?
So I joined the Air Force because I needed to run away from home. Air Force paid more than the circus did. That's actually the title of an article about me. I knew I was going to school. Things weren't going well. I knew I had to leave to get out of town. A lot of people in the military don't join out of patriotism. It's to get their lives together. It gives you a place to, the structure kind of helps you out to learn about yourself. So joined in '78. I went to basic training in Lackland, Texas. I was living on a farm, so when I came out of basic training, I was in worse shape than I went in. That's the Air Force for you. Any Marines, I apologize now. It annoys them. Then I became a weather observer. Did that for 4 years. Got out of the military. Went back home. Was going to go to school, and I realized that I should have stayed away. I come from a very difficult family background, and I knew I could not be successful living anywhere near them. Rejoined the Air Force, went down to Florida, then went to forecaster school, went to Germany, and got out in 1993. I was a parent. We had 3 kids at the time. I had been deployed to, right after Desert Storm, to Saudi Arabia. They congratulated me and said, I'll be going there every other Christmas. Unfortunately, my now ex-wife decided that she did not want to play well, and I knew I had to get out of the military because things were not well. I got out in 1993, became a single parent of 3 kids a short time afterwards. All my exes do live in Texas. I don't go there. The kids ended up, we struggled for a while. Got a job with Intel, did that for 16 years, made enough money for us to survive. Had nothing to do with the military after I got out in 93 till 2007, and my youngest son was in junior high, found out about a Navy youth program called the Sea Cadets, and it's the Navy version of the Young Marines, Civil Air Patrol. After he went to what's called their basic training, I saw the improvement with him. I said, I'll help out a little bit. This is a reoccurring theme. Helping out a little bit means I get heavily involved.
Yeah.
I did that seriously for about 3 years. Ran a unit, helped grow the program, and then I did it part-time. Later on, as I was doing the Sea Cadet program, I was beginning to do more outreach type of stuff. Got connected with the Pearl Harbor survivors. Worked with those guys for a while. Became the caretaker of the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association for about 5 years. Got involved in more veterans advocacy work through the State House and kind of locally. From there, just kind of evolved through different nonprofits. Started up one, we had to kill it. Unfortunately, I learned the dark side of veterans advocacy and veterans nonprofits. I volunteered for several others, and just kind of about 10 years ago got invited to join the VMLC as a council member. At the time, I was the youngest person in the group. Now I'm the oldest and the longest serving.
So for those that don't know, what is the VMLC?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So been part of the VMLC for about 10 years now. It's the Veterans Medical Leadership Council. We've been around about 21 years. Initially was started to help the Phoenix VA advocate for itself. That changed after a few years. Directors changed and their focus changes. We ended up, the group changed to, started off the Phoenix VA parade. And they split off because that became such a big deal that they needed their own, kind of their own nonprofit. The VMLC started talking to the VA social workers about what do they need. Well, veterans sometimes get financial crises. A little bit, you're short on rent, you're short on car payment, you're short on something. There's a lot of programs out there, but what we ended up doing is we've allied ourselves with the Phoenix VA social workers. They do all the vetting, we pay. We pay the person that they owe the bill to. We do not give them money directly. Right now, they started in Phoenix. We're now also working in Prescott. About $31,000 a month is what we fundraise.
Wow, that's really cool. So like if a social worker out there with the VA sees an issue and they're gonna either lose their house or their car or whatever, they can submit to you guys to be able to help them through that.
Yes.
It pays directly, so it's not like the money's gonna go for something else,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. I like that.
When I started, it was $12,000 a month. They would run out a tenth of every month. And we kind of realized that if you're running out each month, the need's much bigger. So we've been increasing our bandwidth. We've been increasing what we do. We've been increasing our outreach quite a bit over the last couple of years. Our ultimate goal is to add Tucson to the mix. Right now, the need's about $50,000 a month for Prescott, Tucson, and Phoenix.
Combined or each?
Each.
Each. Okay, so 150,000.
150,000 a month, about 2.25 million right now.
Okay, and what where are you guys at right now?
So we're at about 700,000 right now. With nonprofits in particular, there's the $1 million cutoff. Mm-hmm. Below $1 million, you're still kind of, you're mom and pop organization, and you also have to have an executive director. We are currently all volunteers. Mm-hmm. So we know that ultimately to get those big foundations, the Parsons Foundation, the Woodruff Foundations, they all have that magic $1 million cutoff and executive director. Mm. We're hoping that by the end of this year we'll have $1 million because of our big gala this year. Yeah. Once we hit that $1 million, then we're going to have to hire executive director. And that meets a lot of the quotas, the check boxes that the bigger foundations have. I mean, we have contacts with them. They know who we are.
Right.
We just haven't reached you are worthy of our foundation money yet. Once we do that, we know we'll be able to raise a lot more money. The ultimate goal, too, is a secondary, or as they call the BHAG. Big, hairy, audacious goal is to take this nationally, but not for us to lead it nationally, is to have it organically in their own regions. Because everybody knows what their own region is better than we would. We don't want to be one of these huge nonprofits that have been in the newspaper. What we want to do is you run your own area. We'll give you the docs, we'll give you the process, and we get the heck out of the way. And this problem is a national issue. The other part of it, when you look at it kind of at a local level, you know what's needed in your area. Up in the northern U.S., there's certain things that are needed up there, but there's a lot less veterans up there than there used to be. So, people have been moving down south, so we want to focus on the areas that need the biggest help.
Yeah. So what was it that made you want to get involved?
I like to joke I'm not bright. I help people. A little bit. I come from a very bad background, so there's always that need to prove myself. And I know that's part of what I do. I do the military stuff. My kids in particular, my oldest is still active duty Air Force. My middle son was in the Army Reserves, and my youngest son just medically retired out of the Navy. So, I want them to know that if they get in trouble, they can call Daddy, and Daddy can make a phone call, and it's worked a couple of times. Yeah. But it's also the ability to help somebody. Yeah. Because for most of the time, people weren't there for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's such a good place to, not a good place to come from, but a very emotional place to come from to help people. And veterans, I mean, they don't get the care or the attention that they should. And organizations like this are just, very important. I mean, I've known Dave for a while, and I'm not sure what his involvement is exactly, but I know he's passionate about talking about it. But I think more awareness for programs like this is good because, tell me a little bit from your perspective, because I don't know. When you come home from a war and that kind of thing, like what's happening in your life? If you got wife, if you got kids, like how are you unwinding your brain to live as a civilian?
So each time you deploy, you come back to a whole new paradigm in your family. Your spouse has been by themselves. They've been the single parent for the last. My oldest son is currently deployed to the Middle East, and his wife is a single parent for the next year. I mean, he isn't like he can come home at any time. He's over there for quite some time, and so you have to reintegrate with your family. The veteran has to go from where they're independent, semi-independent, working for themselves and working for a group, in sometimes austere environments, to where you're back to civilian life. It's the same problem that the Vietnam War guys had. They be the jungle one day and be in San Francisco the next day. And welcome to the real world. I know there are people that when they walk into a supermarket, like for the first time, you've got 7,500 different types of cereal. You know, when you're overseas, you get what they give you. It might be MRE, meals ready to eat, or a commissary that has a limited supply. But you, all of a sudden, you have all these choices. And you have to relearn your spouse. You have to relearn how to deal with your kids. Because your kids have changed. Your spouse has changed. You've changed. You know, you don't know what kind of, whether you've gone into a combat situation to where you've had, you know, potential PTS, traumatic brain injury from concussions, or a moral injury from knowing that you survived and your friend didn't, to just a normal deployment where you may not have been in combat, but you're still away from your family for a long period of time. So you're coming back to a different world. Right. I went over to Saudi for 3 months. Things had changed a lot. My ex in particular had a really rough time. There were no resources for her. When I came back, there were no resources for me. It was all on my own. And my unit in particular at that time was extremely unsupportive. So it's all about developing those support systems. And they're needed. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are struggling quietly, and this isn't a new thing. You know, shell shock goes back to Civil War and before. PTS goes back warriors since the dawn of time. Shell shock in particular is because of concussions from modern gunpowder. In World War II, they didn't talk about it unless very rarely you had a lot of people drinking themselves to death. And back then too, there was a suicide epidemic. It was just hidden. The VA suicide numbers are always low. It's always much higher.
Yeah, I remember you or Dave mentioning that when I saw you at Impact Social Night. What is the number that you guys look at based on studies a day?
I want to go as closer to 44 a day across the country. Veterans are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than civilians. Not only they know how to. I mean, if you think about it, you know how to use a gun, you're going to be much more successful.
Yeah.
So they're much more successful in their suicide attempts. Even with all the mental health support out there, there's a lot of veterans who come back. We don't trust the government. Yeah. We've seen the government may have lied to us more than once. The Veterans Administration, they're a big, unwieldy, yet I know they're trying to do the best that they can, but the best that they can isn't always all that great. I'll defend them in some areas, but I'll, you know, put them under the bus in others. So, and then because of the lack of trust, the veteran wants to isolate himself from society, isolate themselves from people, so then you go down that dark hole really quickly. So with our Returning Warrior program, we call it stopping the spiral. Okay, so someone's not going to lose, you know, you've kept someone from going homeless. If they go homeless, then you start going down that spiral. And that's what a lot of people have done, is they've gone down that spiral. And we're going to lose people, no matter what we do. Some people will not accept help. Yeah. You know, there's a mental health crisis across the board. You know, every day you hear someone going out and doing some horrible things to people. So there's a mental health crisis across the board, especially in rural America, where there's less resources and the people tend to be a little more independent.
So, I mean, what does it look like now? Like when somebody comes back and is trying to integrate back into society, like are there, I mean, you mentioned a program that I hadn't heard of, but like, are there programs to help them with the mental health, to kind of help them digest and to work back in, or how does that work?
So the military has some transition programs themselves, except that they tend to be given by people who are in the military, which means they don't know what the civilian world is like.
Yeah.
So a guy one day is a senior NCO and gets out of the military and now is teaching the transition class. Well, you were 18 years old when you joined the military. You've never been a civilian. You don't understand. There's a lot of programs out there. Here in Arizona, we have somewhere around 4,000 nonprofits running around. Many of them are small mom and pop. Some have questionable motives and questionable goals. You have some of the big ones, the Wounded Warrior Project, which everyone's heard of. They've had their problems. They had a CEO that was a little less than honest. A nonprofit that I was part of, Operation American Patriot, we ended up having to, actually we tried to put the CEO in jail for fraud. But there are groups out there, but they're disjointed. There's one of the things that most people don't understand about people coming out of the military, we are not all the same.
Right.
Just because we all said, I state my name, doesn't mean we're the same at all. A Marine is far different than someone in the Air Force. We call us corporate, we call them a cult. The Army and the Navy are the ones we jokingly call the military. But we're all different people. We all come from different backgrounds, whether we're coming from, rural Montana or, streets of New York City. We are all different. And the experiences that we have is different. Marine boot camp is not what Air Force boot training camp is. The stuff that I saw is nothing like the stuff that most people saw. So there are so many different programs out there that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people trying to protect their hoods in a lot of cases. But there's also some people doing some great jobs. I find that the more focused a group is, the better they tend to do a job. If you try to be everything to everybody, you can't do it. And then you go out there fight for funding. And we're all frenemies. We're all fighting for the same
same bucks. And
same bucks, same playgrounds. Some do better than others.
Yeah.
There's some groups that work with like the SEAL.